Welcome back to Great Day Washington. November marks the second anniversary of the passing of President George H.W. Bush. It can be argued that he was the last Republican president which had support from both sides of the aisle, thanks in part to his friendship with former Secretary of State James A. Baker III. The new biography, Texas Titans, examines this powerful friendship, and I recently spoke with the author, Charles Denyer. Another great book that you've put out. Now you explore the friendship between former President George H.W. Bush, former Secretary James A. Baker III. Why this relationship? Why is this an important one to discover?
Well, I think when you look at these two individuals, most people know quite a bit about them on an individual basis. We can talk quite a bit about George Herbert Walker Bush, and we can talk quite a bit about James A. Baker III, but what we don't know is how meaningful the relationship has been over a 60-year period. They were very, very supportive of each other, both personally and professionally. I think the real reason why both men have been so successful in the political spectrum is because they had each other at their side for the better part of 30, 40 years in the political world.
Is it true they met playing tennis?
It is, at the tennis courts at the Houston Country Club.
It's amazing. You never know, right, where your friendships are going to forge. Have you had the opportunity to meet? Did you ever get to meet former President Bush or Secretary Baker?
So I've met with Secretary Baker a number of times. I was with him last week in Houston. We had a great 2 or 3 hour meeting. As far as President Bush, we had communicated a number of times, personal letters. He had sent quite a few to me over the years, but really when this book project began, he unfortunately had passed.
So you talk about their strong political, their strong friendship in the political world, but really, how do you think this friendship, this relationship impacted the world?
Well, if you look at Bush's single term as president, the 48 months he was commander-in-chief, we had a series of very cataclysmic events that unfolded. And at every turn of any type of policy directive put forth by the Bush White House at that time, there was a major emphasis from Jim Baker. So all the decisions that were ultimately made by the president were very heavily dependent upon Jim Baker's input.
All right, so I have to ask, with this big election looming, what do you think President Bush would think of what's happening in 2020, and where does the GOP go from here?
Good, I almost got a chill. I thought you were going to ask me to pick the election.
No.
Well, you know, President Bush always put himself ahead of partisan politics, and I think he would probably be dismayed, is the word I would use, on the contentious political fighting that is going on. But you know, he was always above that fray. He even sent President-elect Donald Trump a note the morning of inauguration saying, "Congratulations, but I can't be here. My doctor said I'd be 6 feet under if I did show up at your inauguration." But he'd probably be dismayed at what's going on.
Well, we appreciate you sharing this story of this friendship and really just the impact it's had on everything. Congrats once again on another great book.
Thank
you.
It's
so good to see you.
All right, you too.
Texas Titans is out now. Charles also told me that he has been tapped as the official biographer for former Vice President Dick Cheney. That will be out next fall. Don't fall for a bad breakfast. Coming up, we are going to share the recipe for a delicious, healthy autumn smoothie. Howard, what's the weather looking like for people that are heading out to the polls today?
Cool, but you know, we're already warmer than we were yesterday.